you this year? Might it be a book or a podcast or something. Will you just pop that into chat? Something that you read this year, because I know we all know the impact that a book or a podcast or something that we've come across has made a big impact for us. And I'm just a big fan of sharing those because it matters so much. And, like I'll recommend things to people, read a few pages, and if it doesn't click, move on. Not every book has to be finished, so that's always a good thing to know. All right. So, next year, I just love this graphic. Excited about it. Next year, we are going on a virtual book tour all year long, and you're all invited. There's plenty of room in that bus. And what that's going to look like is we're going to be doing our monthly leading lab. We do these every single month, usually the third Tuesday of the month at 8 a.m. And I know that's bright and early, but we don't require cameras. Okay, there's no expectation there. We're only going to have one session in January that's not going to be on the third Tuesday. And that's because I'm taking my mom for her 80th birthday to Nashville. But other than that, it's always going to be on the third Tuesday of the month. And we have a phenomenal lineup of topics. And if you haven't been to these, the idea is to come together with really high performing people like you're seeing right here to dig into a topic. We have some guest speakers along the way. It's a good 45-minute kind of session, and then we let you back out on your way. But we're also doing some in-person quarterly meetups through the year, at least quarterly, maybe a few more. So we got a few surprises along the way. But I don't have like a definite answer. I will next week. But I believe our first quarterly meetup is going to be at Amen Clinic in Irving. And I know I talk about our Amen Clinic a lot. So I wanted us to be able to go there and see what SPECT imaging is and hear from, one or two of their physicians of how they've utilized that. And I just think that'd be a really cool event for us. So hopefully that's the first thing that we're going to be doing. But today we got a lot of work to do. So if you would grab a piece of paper, something to write with, if you're more on the screen kind of person, that's fine. You can do that too. But there's something magical about writing. And if you're one of those people that just rolled your eyes when I said paper or journaling or things like that, well, there's a lot of good research of why that is such a powerful exercise. So try it out, okay? Before you dismiss it, give it a whirl because I'm going to walk us through some really powerful questions today. Before we start, though, I wanted to show you a clip. And this is a clip from a 1998 study. And as you're in it, as you're watching this, it's super short. I just want you to think about how us moving into the role of always making decisions, solving problems, being focused on everybody else, what does it cause us to miss?
The Door Study. This video shows a participant from a 1998 study by Daniel Simons and Daniel Levin. Watch what happens as the unsuspecting pedestrian provides directions. The young man on the left is one of the experimenters. He has approached the white-haired man and asked for directions. Watch closely as two people carrying a door pass between them, and the first experimenter is replaced by someone else. Like many of the people in this study, the pedestrian was entirely unaware that he was talking to a different person. Approximately 50% of the people approached in this study didn't notice when the person they were talking to was replaced by someone else. This study was among the first to demonstrate that change blindness can occur outside of the laboratory. This video is from research by Daniel Simons and Daniel Levin and is copyrighted.
So I love this study. We've seen a lot of them. Some of you've seen the gorilla and the basketball and all those things. But I think the reason why this stuck with me is because the group that we've got here today, I mean, that's you get up every single day and you help other people and you're solving problems and you're making decisions and you're the person that people are going to oftentimes for that direction. And what do we miss as a result of that? I was thinking about that, and you know, sometimes we, as I think it was Covey said, we get caught up in the thick of thin things. And we sometimes miss some of the things that are showing up for us. And when it comes to 2025, I had some unfinished business. It was really Sunday thinking about that. There were so a lot of highs for us this year, as I'm sure there were for you. But there were some really tough days as well. And I just felt like I had not spent the time that I needed to process that before rushing into 2026. And as I sat there on Sunday, I thought, I might not be the only one because we're just go, go, go so quickly. And that's really what inspired putting this session together today. Uh, so I kind of thought
The
about it
door
like this. It's like there was one gift left under the tree. And that gift left under the tree to me was the insight that I needed to glean from 2025 before rushing into 2026. And if you were on a little bit early, Bonnie was telling us, the Chinese New Year for 25 was the year of the snake. And she said it was like an unshedding. And then for 26, it's the horse, which means giddy up, let's go. I'm sure it means other things, but I'm from Texas, so that's what it means to me. And so before we do that, I wanted to just walk you through three different kind of moments of thinking through 25 and looking ahead to 2026. So, this is how I've structured it. We're going to spend a few questions in reflect. So we really glean that insight. If you've read a lot of the material around insight and self awareness, it's lacking. It's lacking a great deal at a great cost. And I think one of the reasons is because we're so busy giving the direction that we miss some things that are really important right in front of us. Then we're going to move into a reconnect with where you are right now. And then we'll finish up with a reset. So before you do that, I'm going to ask you to do a few things. I want to ask you, to the best of your ability, to turn off the voices in your head. We know them. The gremlins in your head, the should have voices that are in your head. I'm going to ask you to turn off the LinkedIn critics in your head. I don't know, LinkedIn stresses me out. I don't know if that's true for you, but it just sometimes feel like you got to do more. You got to hurry, you got to rush. And so turn off any of that, any of those social media critics that might be in your head. Because I want to ask you for the next 50 minutes or however long we have to really adopt an idea, a belief. And the belief that I want you to move through this session with is the belief that you already have what it takes. And one of my favorite stories comes from the Old Testament, but it's not just a story that I read there. It's a story really that I get to experience every single day as a coach. And so here's the story. If you haven't heard it, I'll make it super quick. I got the cliff notes here. A woman's husband dies and he leaves her in debt. Not a good situation for a female in that time of life. Well, it's never a good situation anytime, but definitely not then. She had two sons, so as payment for her husband's death, they're going to take her sons away from her, which again, not a good situation for a female in that period of the world. And so she goes to the prophet Elisha for help. And she says, my husband's died. I'm in debt. They're going to take my sons. And what I love, there's a few things I super love about this story. One is that Elijah asks her a question rather than giving her direction. He asks her a question. He says, what do you already have in the house? And after probably some pause, I wasn't there, but this is what I imagine in my head. She says, jar of oil. Like she really diminishes what she has in the house. But if you know the story, that's exactly what she needed. So Elijah tells her, well, gather all the empty jars and gather all the empty jars from your neighbors and pour the oil into the jars. And the oil keeps flowing until every jar is full. So she sells the oil, she pays the debt, she lives, she goes public, trades her business. It's phenomenal. But my point of this story is that everything she needed was already in the house. And I walk you through this exercise, I just want you to hang on to this belief. And even if you don't believe this, borrow my belief for a few minutes as we go through this, that we can turn off all those other voices and get quiet, reflect on some of this, and what we need is already there. Okay, so if you can do that with me, I appreciate it. So we're going to get started with reflect. By the way, we've got chat up, and if you have any questions as we go along, you can always ask and chat. You know what? You can interrupt me. I roll very informally, so it's not going to bother me at all. And so here we go. We're going to go into reflect. So, my first question to you, as you reflect on 2025, is what would you really like to be acknowledged for? And I'm going to give about 2 minutes to just to write out whether that acknowledgement is just from you or family or people you work with. What would you really like to be acknowledged for? In about 30 more seconds. And you're certainly not obligated. But if there is a highlight, it does inspire the rest of us. If there's anything as these questions come up that you could put into chat, um, I would say one of the things I'd like to be acknowledged for, I probably just for myself, is not quitting. There were, I did quit several times, but thankfully I could get back up in the morning and get back at it. Here's my second question to you. If you had 5 minutes with your January 2025 self, what truth or advice would you speak or give? In about 20 more seconds. Mm. Thank you for what you're putting in chat. It's so good. I've cried like putting this whole thing together. Lance has probably looked at me weird over the last couple of days, but it's been really powerful. And your comments in chat, I can relate to so many of those. My third question, by the way, we have more questions on Reflect. I will get us there. What woke you up at night? Okay, so maybe you're not a wake up at night kind of person. I actually coached someone this year who said, I don't wake up at night. I do, but maybe it might be during the day. What woke you up at night? What worries in 2025 turned out to be completely unnecessary? In about 20 more seconds. My next question is to give you a second to reflect on where were you seeking control when you really needed to let go? In about 10 more seconds. Two questions left. What emotion or feeling kept showing up no matter how hard you tried to outrun it? And it might have been an emotion, it might have been a feeling, it might have been a narrative, like a meaning that you were giving something. But when you think about the year, what kept showing up no matter how hard you tried to outrun it? Oh, in about 20 more seconds. Oh, I can so relate to that. Yeah. And last question here on Reflect. Might be the same, slightly different. What lesson chased you all year that you're finally ready to learn? About 10 more seconds. Yeah, I just, Suzanne, your comment in chat, big one for me too. And like really grappling with how I've defined surrender. Surrender is not giving up. you know. Before we move forward, just no obligation for sure, but it's any themes throughout that for you or any insight that was unexpected as you kind of went through those questions. And no obligation. Yeah. It goes so fast, you know. But I think it's, and especially with all the noise and all the busy and all of the things that just aren't really real around us. So, you get more of that with social media and AI, and everything looks like it's perfect and all put together, and we forget that that's really going behind the scenes. Yeah. I love the phrase, Cody, that we're 100% successful in making it through tough days. You know. Okay, I want to move forward then, but I wanted to share with you something that was completely unexpected a couple of weeks ago, but it was exactly what I needed to see. We were in Cabo, and Suzanne, she's my Cabo buddy. And we are sitting on the beach, and all of a sudden, people started coming out and putting up some flags and things like that. We had no idea what they were about to do. But this is what they did. They released hundreds of turtles that were born that morning.
A race for survival.
Oh my gosh, that is the sweetest thing.
Oh.
We got a winner up there.
Yep. First place. Did you get there? Are you gonna get there? And then you get the miles at the sea that didn't lift if you make it to the water. Here comes the bird. We're gonna have a winner here. Taking your shoes off. They're all sticking up in the footprint.
is just a
Really cool
miracle.
when they get picked up by the surf. There you go.
Yeah. Woo!
Mostly.
So I had never seen that before. Some of you might have seen a turtle release before. I had never seen that. And it was just so symbolic of, I don't know where you see yourself in that. I thought it was such a miracle that all those little turtles knew exactly what they needed to do, that there was something calling them. I thought that was beautiful. And I was really thinking about, I've been the turtle that felt like upside down and, turned around, but they could all get back on their little legs, and keep moving forward. It was such a beautiful moment. And it's also, you think about other people in your life who are not making that progress, who keep falling into the sand pit, and they're just struggling. And there was everything in me that just wants to say, don't quit, right? Just don't quit. Don't give up. Don't give up. Anyway, I don't know if that moved you as much as it did me, but that was just a pretty amazing moment to reflect on the year. So I want to lead you into just a few questions around reconnecting, and reconnecting being kind of wherever you are is exactly where you need to be. So, couple of minutes to write to this question. What needs to stay behind in 2025? No exceptions. In about 20 more seconds. Mm. Oh, so good, Sarah. Like, you think about what weight goes away when you no longer deal with that. I'm reading A Return to Love right now, and one of the moments in the book, she says she's going through something, and somebody said to her, "It's all in your head." And her reaction was, "That's the worst place it should be," right? Is it's hard to get it out. My second question on this is, what part of yourself, which could be related, might be different? Let's take a minute or so. What part of yourself are you ready to stop apologizing for? In about 10 more seconds. Mm, mm. Good, good, good. We love the phrase even better if around here. That's how we give feedback to each other as a team. It'll say, that's fantastic. Even better if. All right. So we love the phrase even better if. So my question to you is, what's the even better if you haven't dared to say out loud yet? What's the even better if version of you, or even better if uh, a way of being, or even better if something you want to accomplish? About 10 more seconds. Sorry. Oh, yeah, making a passive income. One of my even better if I play the piano, and I music was a big part of my life, and it hasn't been for several years. And even better if for me would be to get that back into my life somehow. So, y'all, those turtles tore me up. I mean, like, I sat on that beach and just cried. Um, I think because few reasons. I had some family members that are stuck and they're upside down and they're struggling. I've got some that are racing ahead and they're going right into the water, but then there are also perils, right? That you face once you actually get to the water. But the third thing is just how those turtles that were born that morning knew that something was drawing them to it. And when we started this business, by the way, next year we're going to be celebrating 25 years. But this was really built on the belief that we've all been given a message. Thank you, Tamara. And a style of delivering that message that hasn't been given to anybody else. I really do believe in my core that we're all being drawn, pulled to do something in this one and only life. And so, my last question to you on this reconnect is, as we get a moment to just turn off all the other voices, what is calling to you right now in your life, in this season of your life? What is that ocean for you? Mm. I love that, Amy. So, about 10 more seconds. All right. So, just as we wrap on the reconnect, anything that you want to share with our group, and it's okay if not. Thank you for putting that in chat. Okay, so I'm moving forward, but you can always interrupt. Um, let's talk about reset and just a few things from a brain perspective I want to bring up because that's what I'm really passionate about, but it also is what I see every single day. So I don't know if you guys saw Wicked this year. This was us on Halloween, and we were truly committed. I mean, my face was green, so and it came off. I was proud of myself that I actually tested it before I put it all over my face, but thankfully it did come off. But whether you've seen the Wicked movie or you've read the Wizard of Oz, we've all been exposed to a very famous phrase out of that series, and that would be, "There's no place like home." And there's truth to that, and there's a part of that that is very encouraging. But from a brain perspective, I also want to just say there's a warning with that because your brain loves home. It loves the familiar. And moving outside of that can feel really uncomfortable. It can feel like a very dangerous thing. If you attended our webinar in our leading lab in October, Natalie Satelli came on and she was talking about the Enneagram and introduced us to the concept of the box that we've created this home that we've created that we live in that was really in response to protecting ourselves. She went through the boxes: how we see ourselves, our worldview, what triggers us, what motivates us, what are our defense mechanisms. And the reality is that your brain really does resist anything outside of home, of that box that you've created. It's going to be really uncomfortable. And so doing something different is going to trigger that. And we call that FOBU, FOBU, fear of being uncomfortable. And it really is the number one thing that I see in the work that we do that holds people back from moving to whatever is calling to them, moving towards what they know in their entire being that they should do. But FOBU is a disease that is a killer of dreams and relationships and opportunities. It's real. And I think I just wanted to bring up before I show these last few questions that just because something is uncomfortable doesn't mean it's wrong. And it doesn't mean you're not ready for it. It just means it's uncomfortable. And sometimes, as we say, new levels, new devils. The new devils are showing up because you're moving to new levels. If it's not uncomfortable, that's when we should really worry. We should learn to make friends with being uncomfortable. So, here are the last few questions as you think about resetting for 2026. First question, I'm just going to give you a couple of minutes on, is where are you not thinking big enough? The second question I want to give you a minute or two to write about is when you think about 26, what are some things you want to do? It could be very practical, like repaint your bedroom. It could be bigger. But what are just some tangible things you want to do? And I have a little gift I want to give you in just a second. So I promise we'll be done on time. My third question here is, what do you want to have in 2026? Okay, so before I show you this last question, the do's and the haves are great. They usually make the vision boards, and I'm a big fan of vision boards. But these also can fall under the resolution category, which we all know are broken within the first 30 days for the most part. I know personally that I've only set one resolution that I actually followed through on, but it's good. I mean, we want to be clear on what we want to do and what we want to have because if we don't have that written down, like the vacation, it's easy to push it to the side. But this third question is really the power place because real sustainable change happens when we shift belief. And I wanted to share an example from Atomic Habits. Most of you probably read that book, but I want to take you back to where he's talking about beliefs and identity. We talk about beliefs and identity a lot because it's really the belief shift that's got to happen in order for the actions and the results to change. The example he gives is that there are two people out on a patio, and someone walks out and says, "Do you want a cigarette?" And one of the people says, "I'm trying to stop smoking." But the other person says, "Not a smoker." And even though both said no, Lance and I were talking about this last night, it comes from a very different place when you're saying, "I'm not a smoker." Now, I don't care if you are or you're not, but the point is, what is the belief? So, this last question, who will you need to be in order to do and have those things? Is it someone who is courageous? I am courageous. It's powerful what follows I am. I am bold. I am dedicated. I am steadfast. A lot of you know we're big fans of pick your three words that really describes your way of being. Or it could be, I believe that I'm someone who already has everything they need in the house. So just last question here of reflection, and then we'll wrap it up of who will you need to be in 2026 that would drive what you want to have, what you want to do, and that you keep thinking big enough. So just take a minute and a half. Oh, thank you. Such good comments in chat. Okay, I got 2 minutes. We'll wrap, but I got all day, so I don't have anywhere to be. A couple of things I wanted to share in chat. We're loading up. It's just a few other tools that we use to help people reset. There's a one page miracle that you may want to use if you want to dig further into this, or you're thinking, I'd really like to lead my team through a similar exercise. We put together, I think it's three different pages, and one page has other ideas that we've done. So that's free. You can just download that. If you're like, oh, I'd like to have some help implementing that, well, great. That's what we do every day, and we're fanatics about it. And you know what? Honestly, if my team may go nuts, but Like, if you're thinking, I'd really like for you guys to help me do something like this with our team, if you're like, want us to do that, the first 5 people will do it for free. How's that? I think it's so important. So I can't see anybody's faces, but they may be panicking right now. But if the first 5 people that says, "Yeah, I want you to do that with me," or your team will do it for free. So I just think that it's so important that we keep pulling out just because there's so much noise and there's so much good work to be had. In the book that I wrote this year, it really was around 90,000 hours or more of our precious one and only life um, is spent at work. And I just think that it's so important, especially as leaders, that we remember that and we honor that for ourselves and for our team. So you can make sure if everybody's Patty in chat, just be sure that we know your name and contact information. I'd be delighted to work with your team. Uh, Last Cabo picture, but this is really the mantra that we try to live by as much as possible, and we truly believe in is that to love your life, don't quit. Sometimes I know it feels like the little turtle that's turned upside down. And as we were watching it, Lance said, I can so relate to those little legs, that are going just as fast as they can. But love your life, to lead with intention and leave a legacy no matter what. And we just look forward to the journey together in 2026. And I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for taking the time to be here today because I know it's about to get loud and it's about to get busy and all the pressure is about to rush back in. So thank you. I really appreciate it. I'm going to hit stop on the record.